At some point, I worry I'm going to start repeating myself when it comes to the PlayStation VR2. We probably all have to accept that slowly and quietly Sony has become very good at producing hardware. From the feature set the PlayStation 5 added that has made rival consoles want a new controller, to the premium DualSense Edge, the hardware is just very, very good now. But it also comes at a cost, and there's that repetition again, because while I cannot argue that PlayStation VR2 is rather expensive, I also have to tell you that pound for pound, there's not really another VR headset that can compete.
Let's start at the beginning though, because having used the MetaQuest 2, PSVR 1, Valve Index, HTC Vives galore, and even an early developer model of the Oculus Quest, Sony always had the most comfortable headset on offer, and this hasn't changed with PlayStation VR 2. There's one wire that is plenty long enough and slots into the smaller USB port on the front. No more do you have cables trailing from the back or a breakout box, it's just one cable in the front of your PlayStation 5 and you're done. And at the risk of rushing through things, the setup process is so simple it's barely worth touching upon. You will be walked through how to place the PSVR 2 on your head. It will then introduce you to eye tracking, room scale, and seated or static positions, all with a fancy blue PlayStation style matrix look to it. And that's it, you're ready to play. The user interface just works and there's no complaints aside the fact that when you turn the headset off, the controllers don't automatically turn off too. On that note, actually, it's excellent to see Sony include a pass-through button on the headset itself. To the right and underneath there's a simple button that will change to the front-facing cameras, which means you can check if you're not walking into a wall or something, in case you haven't quite set up the safe zones properly. The 4K visuals on offer and the higher quality cameras means that you can pretty much check your phone without taking your headset off, almost. It was quite startling to see how clear the cameras were when switching to them actually. While I don't want to go on too much really about how clear the fidelity of the visuals are in PlayStation VR 2, I can't skip over it. Having experienced high-end virtual reality that costs double the price and requires a good PC to show off the visuals, the PlayStation VR 2 absolutely nails it thanks to the power of the PS5 and the clarity of the headset lenses itself. Games look astonishing when done right, from Horizon Call of the Mountain's incredible and detailed art style, to Kayak VR's rendering of real-world locations that are believable. This thing looks the absolute business when you're inside VR, make no mistake. Even the viewer mode on the TV is crystal clear and allows audio pass-through. It's a powerful setup.
But it's the PS5 tech that makes PSVR 2 so incredible. The haptic feedback in both the headset and controllers is wild. Playing Res Infinite is an emotional experience with this thing, every beat vibrating in your hands, and levels transition shaking your head, juddering you from a digital realm to digital realm. Likewise, Tetris Effect will sort of tickle your hand as you move each piece into place. Even Moss makes use of the headset vibration when you die, or if a bird soars over your head, creating immersion I've never really felt in VR before.
Guns feel like, well, guns. Triggers offer resistance that varies depending on what weapon you're holding. The oar in Kayak VR has been modelled in a way that you can use rocks to push yourself off, and there is water resistance with every stroke you make. After the Fall has a tremendously satisfying feel to the triggers when it comes to resistance. Like I say, the hardware here is truly superb, and if you've ever experienced the MetaQuest controllers, it's kind of like those, only with all the PS5 DualSense functionality as well. The only black mark really is the inclusion of just the one single USB-C cable to charge. I've not yet encountered a game using only one controller, so they're going to both need charging at the same time. For the price you're paying, perhaps a dock of some kind could have been included, or a second cable. It's not a deal breaker, but it does seem a slightly odd decision. And you're going to get about 3 hours out of a full charge, or maybe a bit more, so not too dissimilar to the main DualSense, and again it depends what game you're playing. One of the other nice features is the inclusion of a set of in-ear headphones which can pop into a slot on the side of the headset when not in use. I do have the Pulse 3D headset, but I've never really felt the need to add an additional thing to my head, and instead kept to the included in-ear headphones for PlayStation VR 2. They come with different size caps, so if they slip out of your ears in the default setting, you can just easily switch them out for the right size. Something I always value really highly when looking at a new VR product is how comfortable it is with my glasses, and I'm happy to report that while you probably will still steam up now and again, I had no issue with wearing my glasses for the entirety of my time with PlayStation VR 2. In fact, there's even actually a small space on either side of the headset that allowed me to adjust my glasses via the arms if they were causing any focus issues. I didn't actually get to test my real optics lenses, but it doesn't appear that they'll fit due to the change in form factor inside the headset itself. The eye tracking itself is hugely impressive, by the way. That said, so far with the launch lineup outside of Horizon Call of the Mountain using it for menus, and a very impressive tutorial in the PSVR 2 setup that makes it look like it could be very exciting, so far it feels like one of the features that's been slightly underused. Don't get me wrong, it's early days of course, and the ability to look around anywhere without moving your head is an interesting idea, but I'd like to see it used for more than perhaps menus, and I do believe that the upcoming Dark Pictures title is going to do exactly that. It's difficult to find too much to complain about with the PlayStation VR 2. The single cable isn't an issue, but I guess wireless would have been nice. That said, I've not yet seen a wireless headset that can do what this one does, and frankly, with all the features inside of this thing, I don't know if I'd want to rely on a battery for all of that. The enhanced versions of older games really sing with the new feature set, and games like Rez are truly breathtaking experiences. The price is always going to be difficult to swallow, but to get anything even close you'd need a reasonably expensive PC and would end up spending at least double on the hardware, but still not have the haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, and potentially even the high resolution and frame rate.
PlayStation VR 2 is a triumph, offering the best way to play games in virtual reality, and with a launch lineup that is pretty much offering something for everyone, I really do look forward to seeing more of the first party output. But in terms of the hardware itself, this really is the best VR experience available right now.